In March 2024, a routine audit of Maricopa County vehicle maintenance records flagged an anomaly so small it almost disappeared into the spreadsheet. A single Ford F-250 registered to the Pinal County Sheriff's Department had logged 347,000 miles in 14 months. That number is physically impossible for a vehicle assigned to local patrol. It would require driving nearly 950 miles every single day without stopping, the equivalent of a round trip from Tucson to El Paso and back, repeated endlessly. No vehicle in the department's fleet came within a third of that figure. The mileage wasn't an error. It was an entry someone forgot to falsify. When federal auditors pulled the GPS records attached to that truck's fuel card, they found routes that never appeared on any official dispatch log. Runs to remote ranch properties along the border corridor, always between 1 o'clock and 4 a.m., always returning before shift change. The truck belonged to the motor pool supervised directly by Sheriff Daniel Hargrove, a 19-year law enforcement veteran with commendations from 2 governors and a reputation as the toughest border hawk in southern Arizona. That single mileage entry would eventually unravel $780 million. Federal analysts from the FBI's Southwest Corruption Task Force spent 11 days examining fuel card transactions associated with Pinal County's law enforcement fleet. The anomalies multiplied with each query. 7 additional vehicles showed mileage inconsistencies, not as extreme as the first, but following identical nocturnal patterns. All routes terminated at or near 3 properties within a 9-mile radius of the border. Property records showed those parcels belonged to shell entities registered in Nevada. Tax filings listed agricultural use. Satellite imagery told a different story. One site contained a 14,000 square foot residential compound behind reinforced perimeter walls. Another housed commercial-grade cold storage facilities with no visible farming operation. The third showed fresh concrete pads and industrial lighting installed within the previous 8 months. Each property's utility consumption exceeded its agricultural classification by factors of 6 to 12. Electrical load analysis suggested climate-controlled environments running continuously. The investigative team cross-referenced property ownership records against county permit approvals. Every single development permit for those 3 sites had been approved by the same planning office, in half the standard processing time. Inspection records existed on paper. But when agents contacted the listed inspectors, 2 had never visited the sites. One had retired 3 years before the inspections supposedly occurred. Someone inside county government had manufactured an approval trail. The question was how high the fabrication reached. By the 4th week of covert surveillance, DEA agents embedded in the operation identified something that transformed the investigation's classification from corruption probe to major narcotics trafficking case. Thermal imaging conducted from 2,200 feet showed vehicle movements at the primary ranch compound that followed a precise schedule: arrivals from the south every 72 hours, departures northbound within 90 minutes. The vehicles entering were heavy. The vehicles leaving were light. Weight differential estimates suggested payloads between 800 and 1,400 kilograms per cycle. Meanwhile, FBI financial analysts had traced the Nevada shell companies through 4 layers of ownership to a trust administered by an attorney in Scottsdale. That attorney's client list, obtained through sealed warrant, contained 11 names. Sheriff Daniel Hargrove appeared on page 3, not as a law enforcement reference, but as a beneficial owner. The trust held $43 million in commercial real estate across 3 states. Revenue from those properties flowed into accounts that made regular disbursements to 14 individuals, several of whom held active law enforcement credentials in Arizona and New Mexico. A veteran DEA analyst described the financial architecture in 3 words during a briefing: "This is payroll." Hargrove wasn't investigating the border. He was operating it. At 3:47 a.m. on a Thursday, 214 federal agents from FBI, ICE, DEA, and HSI moved simultaneously against 9 locations across southern Arizona and western New Mexico. The primary target, Hargrove's 860-acre ranch compound, required 63 agents, 2 armored vehicles, and aerial support from a Black Hawk providing real-time thermal coverage. The compound's gate system was disabled remotely by cyber units who had accessed its network 4 days earlier. Entry took 11 seconds. Hargrove was found in a ground-floor office, fully dressed, seated at a desk with 2 encrypted laptops open. He said nothing during arrest. Both laptops were seized before their kill switch protocols could activate. Beneath the ranch's eastern outbuilding, agents discovered a subterranean storage facility spanning 3,100 square feet. Inside, 2.7 tons of cocaine in vacuum-sealed bricks, 340 kilograms of fentanyl in pharmaceutical-grade packaging, and $62 million in bundled currency. A second vault contained weapons, 38 firearms including suppressed rifles and 4 military specification night vision systems that matched equipment reported stolen from a National Guard armory in 2022. Across the remaining 8 locations, agents arrested 52 additional individuals within 4 hours. Among them, 3 active-duty deputies, a retired Border Patrol supervisor, 2 commercial trucking executives, a county planning commissioner, and an immigration attorney who had processed over 900 visa applications in the previous 3 years. The scope of what those laptops contained, however, made the physical seizures look minor. Encrypted communications revealed a transportation network spanning 7 states with documented coordination going back 6 years. More than 28 tons of narcotics had moved through corridors that Hargrove's office had been specifically responsible for patrolling. He hadn't just failed to stop the trafficking. He had designed the patrol schedules to create the gaps it moved through. Forensic accountants eventually traced $780 million in assets connected to the network, property, vehicles, accounts, and commercial holdings distributed so widely that no single seizure would have revealed the whole. The system had been built by someone who understood exactly how federal investigations worked, what thresholds triggered scrutiny, and where jurisdictional gaps created blind spots. Hargrove had attended 3 DEA joint training seminars on financial detection methods. He'd completed an FBI-sponsored course on transnational network identification. He had used that education not to enforce the law, but to engineer a criminal infrastructure that operated in the precise negative space of enforcement. 53 people now face federal charges. Asset seizures continue across 4 states. But internal reviews have since identified an additional 19 administrative decisions, permit approvals, inspection waivers, contract awards, that aligned with the network's operational needs over the past 7 years. Those decisions were made by officials not yet charged. The investigation remains active. And the question federal agents are now asking isn't whether one corrupt sheriff built a drug empire. It's how many systems, designed to protect the public, quietly reshaped themselves around the money flowing through them. Because the network didn't survive by avoiding detection. It survived by making detection someone else's responsibility, and ensuring that someone answered to the same payroll. As of this writing, 4 of the 19 flagged decisions remain unexplained. The officials responsible have retained counsel. No additional indictments have been announced. But inside the Federal Command Center in Phoenix, analysts are still following a single thread that emerged from Hargrove's encrypted files, a series of payments, totaling $2.3 million, routed to recipients whose identities remain sealed by federal court order. Those names have not been made public. The order sealing them was approved 11 days after the raid. And the judge who signed it has since recused herself from the case without public explanation.